Here we go. We have the Anbernic 34XXSP. It's a mouthful to say, but we're going to do a quick first impressions video of this. I just want to say thank you to LitNXT for sending me this device. I will leave all the information for their website and for the device in the description below. Really quick, some of the stats, and I have them displayed here on the screen. It has an H700 quad-core A-Cortex A53 at 1.5 gigahertz, and the RAM is 2 gigs, which is cool, but it's only DDR4 RAM. It does have Bluetooth, it has Wi-Fi, it does support CDC charging, so that's always good. The battery is 33 milliamp hour. Thank you again, LitNXT. Right now, at the time of filming this, you might want to check their website because this device is on sale on their website, and you can also use my code that I have here on the screen, RFT10, and get yourself an extra 10% off. Also, LitNXT does free global shipping, so that's always awesome. Thank you, LitNXT, for sending me this device out for the review. And I think that's it for right now. All right, so here, let's do the unboxing really quick. Now, I have not opened this up. Here is the SD card. I got the 128 gig card, so we'll pop that in just a moment. There's some wipes down here. You'll get a manual, and there's a screen protector, so that's always good. And then in here is your C to C cable. I'm sorry, your C to A cable, C to USB-A. So there we go. And that's about it. So we will get to the device. Alrighty. So as you can see, I got the blue color. This is Game Boy color. So I'll open up in just a second. This is a nice dark blue. I'll have to grab my Retro Pocket 5 and compare the blue on there. So, oh, it already has an SD card. That's cool. So this is just the games card. That's good. So quick device tour. There's a USB-C OTG port up here. You got your shoulder buttons and mini HDMI on the side. We got a power button. We got a reset button. That's where our games card goes. There's some indicator lights also when the device is on and when it's charging. And on the bottom, there's only a headset port. So this is the charging port because there's no other charging port. Volume buttons on the side. There's the SD card. On the back, there is a similar ribbing from the Miyoo Flip. The Anbernic doesn't have that. So I will compare. We got a couple devices over here that I will compare that just in a second. So I'm going to throw in the SD card and open it up. Oh, wow. So that has best flip. This has the best flip. This is so smooth. It doesn't creak. Now, granted, it just opens one way. It seems like it just defaults to this angle. So this is really smooth. It's not creaky. It's not rigid. So here is the Anbernic 35XXSP. And I guess the flip is similar to that. It's very smooth. It's been honestly a hot second since I've used my 35XXSP. Just because of the size, I've been using the Miyoo Flip. Now this is a little bit more of a harder, tighter spring in the hinge. And I know that there was some issues with this hinge on certain models and variations of it, but we're not going to get into all of that. So here you can see, I'll just open up all three of them. And these two, the 35SP and the Miyoo Flip, they both have a 3.5 inch screen. This only has a 3.4, hence the 34XXSP, the naming convention on it. Now, what's different with the other SP, the 35SP, is these are clicky buttons where these are not. So these are more, they're still a tiny bit clicky, but they're like a soft clicky. And I would say that the Miyoo Flip is about the least clicky. It's a very soft clicky. So in comparisons, these sticks are very close. Obviously, this one doesn't have any sticks. This has a thicker D-pad. These actually, the 34XXSP, the 34, I'm just going to call it the 34. because their naming conventions are dumb. The flip, the Miu flip, and the D-pad. The D-pad on these two are very similar. So are the buttons. Although I like the Skittle buttons on here. I know that this is more of a Game Boy or GameCube style on the color. Got the clicky on the start and select. These do have L3 and R3. They can press in. Same thing with the Miu flip. And there's a menu button up here. Speaker on each of them, obviously because of the translucent color on the 35. You can see it. And you can see that it's a little bit wider as far as the devices go, obviously to accommodate the larger screen. So let's get our handy dandy. All right, so let's do your D-pad is, I can get my, there we go. 31.4. This is 29.7. Oh, so that's a little bit bigger. And there we have 31.1. So that's about the same size. On the button, starting with the SP, that's 17.6. On the flip is 17.8 or 9 and 17.8. So buttons are pretty similar. It looks like the 21.9 for the joysticks, 21.4. Maybe these are a tiny bit smaller. They do look a little smaller on there. So you can see, as far as we can see the product size, but that is 98.8 as far as the width goes on the SP or the 35XXSP and 91.8. So we got a few more centimeters on there. So millimeters. So this is nice. Now the screen is a little, obviously it's a little bit smaller, and this device is geared towards Game Boy Advance just because of the aspect ratio device of the screen. The resolution is 720 by 480. So let's boot this up. And while this is booting up, just to compare, here is my trusty Retroid Pocket Flip. And you can see that I'm constantly playing Rocket League Sideswipe. I have a problem. But as far as it's pretty, the hinge is very smooth. I would say it has equally the same hinge smoothness as the other Anbernic and the Retroid. Obviously, the Miu flip is a different flip, different manufacturer and everything. So, and there was a couple issues with that hinge. I haven't had any issues with the hinge, but anyway. All right, so we have the typical Anbernic front end. Let's go in and make the... It's not terrible. I'm glad they changed it, but... So, game rooms, RetroArch, and App Center. You go into App Centers. You can do different things like throw some videos on here if you wanted to watch some stuff. Go into File Manager. I think this is like Chinese YouTube or some sort of video app, but it's in China, I believe. Here's ebook reader, expert mode. I'm not sure what that is. Let's go in there. Oh, that's if you wanted to change stuff with your SD cards. Favorites, history, search, settings, and settings is just your normal settings. You can go in here and change some stuff, change the background, change some of the icons and things like that. But the screen looks pretty nice. Select storage card. So we're going to select that. And there we go. It boots going into the second SD card. PSP, you see all of the different systems that you can play. It looks like PSP. Generally for the H700, the PSP is going to be the top end for that chipset. Icons look cool. Let's go in. Throw some ghosts and ghouls. I know that goes. We'll test the speaker really quick. Screen looks nice. So that's at full volume. I like the buttons. I like the D-pad. Let's actually go in, since this is geared more towards Game Boy Advance. Let's do some more Game Boy Advance. And this is Exiting Forever. Now, the joysticks, I understand it's kind of silly having them, but I feel like they're recessed enough that you don't necessarily have to use them, and you can just keep your thumbs over them, or you can hold it a little bit differently if you need to. But for those that want to use them, maybe you're going to use it for a specific device, N64, arcade games, things like that. I'm kind of glad that they're there, so it's a nice addition. That's one thing that I kind of wish that with the 35XXSP, I felt like that the device was big enough that you could totally put they could have thrown some of the joysticks in there. It's kind of wasted space over in that spot, but oh well. Maybe they could have had a version with them and maybe without, but then we wouldn't have this device. So I guess, whatever. I took this on a little bit of a trip to an outing. As you can see on the screen, I went to a baseball game, which is funny because I don't usually sports, but baseball's cool. Whatever. Anyway, so I, of course, had a handheld in my pocket. Usually, lately it's been the Miyoo Flip, but of course, I had to test this out. Now, funny thing is, I was able to play just a tiny bit when I got to the stadium, just while I was waiting for a couple things. And then when I got to my seats later and I filmed some footage that what you're actually seeing on the screen, the battery died. And I didn't realize that it had completely died. I thought that it had some battery in it. Also, I completely forgot to turn on the setting to shut off the device as soon as I closed the flip. So that is definitely a big thing, a big concern that you need to do. So I'll put this on the screen, but in the settings, there is a standby mode, and I had it on normal standby instead of super standby. So I just switched it to super standby, and now obviously I just did that, so I can't test it, but I am going to test this, and that's one of the features that I like about the Miyoo Flip, and also that the 35XXSP had, but I believe that I have custom firmware. I think that you can do it on stock firmware, but anyway. So that's just something that's kind of a no-brainer when it comes to flip devices. You are jamming on it for a little bit, whatever time, however long that is, and then it should just automatically, this should just be an automatic thing that you should have the option to close the lid, and the device will know that it needs to save your game, and then it turns off. Now, whether or not it boots back up into the game, that's neither here nor there. That would be cool. However, that's something that I feel like is just a tiny bit of a bonus. So the first thing, just being able to close the lid, and then in an allotted time, it actually powers off. That should just be standard, which I don't see that on the stock firmware. So tiny bit of a concern there. Okay, this is me editing. I just wanted to point out that I did test out the standby mode, the super standby. And when you open up the device, you just have to hit the power button. And I don't have video footage of this, but I'll show that in the next video. But you just hit the power button and it resumes back to whatever screen, whether it's in a menu or it's a game, and you can go back into playing. Now, I've had this on super standby for the last couple of days, and it's only really lost a little bit of battery. It's at about half now, so I think that's pretty decent as far as, you know, it being really a few days now that I've done that. But again, custom firmware, I'm sure we'll put something on here, MooOS, Newly, something like that, and we'll test that out. So the other thing that I wanted to say, and this is a little goofy, as much as I like the device, I like the color scheme and everything, I do like that it closes and it's quiet. It has that quietness that the 35XXSP has versus the Miyoo Flip, which I talked about before. It's just, the aspect ratio of the screen is just bizarre. It's just a little weird. It's not your normal 4x3, it's a 3x2, and it's geared towards Game Boy Advance. And that's great, but is that for everybody? I'm not sure. Now, I didn't really, it didn't bother me enough to be a bother, but I did notice it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I did notice that there's a big portion right here that I almost feel like this is a phone and it should have an earpiece in that section. I feel like it's an old flip phone. But it's bizarre that the screen doesn't take up the full real estate of the housing. It should do that. It should just go as far to the edge, as far to the housing as it possibly can. As much as I appreciate the size of this, the compactness, really where it's at is screen. Where did they need to do this one? I thought that they would come out with maybe the 40XX Flip or SP or whatever they're going to call it. So I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad device by any means. It's your typical Anbernic, and I do appreciate that it doesn't have the clicky buttons that the 35 SP does. Now, again, I've said that is personal preference. I'm not going to knock you at all. Anybody that loves clicky buttons, it's just a personal preference. I'm more of a mushy membrane, rubber membrane type that I prefer that. But last year, I jammed on this all summer and it was fantastic and I got over that. So especially, and this is a version 1. The version 2 is even softer. So take that with a grain of salt, I suppose. I do like, in talking about the buttons, I do like them. I like the D-pad. I slightly noticed that it was a little bit bigger than the Miu Flip. Other than that, it plays about the same as far as when you're holding it. The Miu Flip has very quiet buttons as well. I couldn't tell you if one is more quiet than the other one. I think they're both about the same. But it's a good little device. It is. And I think that it's a decent pocket. It's right about the size of the Miu Flip. So my thought is, if you weren't a big fan of the Miu Flip, maybe you didn't want to go with that, or you were waiting. Maybe if the screen size if the 3x2 aspect ratio doesn't bother you, then maybe this is for you. The GameCube color scheme I think is really cool because it goes with my RP Flip, wherever it is, the Retro Pocket Flip. I know that they're two separate companies, but I like it. I'm going to do some more testing. I'm definitely going to be waiting for some custom firmware. I'm assuming that's going to be coming out very soon, because if it's not already, it probably is. I just honestly haven't checked it. So... But I will definitely check that out, and I'll throw some custom firmware on this and see how maybe it breathes a little bit more life into it, and maybe I'll like it a little bit more than the Miu Flip. I don't know. I do like that I don't have to go. It's not that clicky, weird hinge that the Miu Flip has, and if some of you out there are concerned, then you might want to get this, because this is just smooth sailing. This is amazing. But so those are my thoughts, not yours. First impressions video. So definitely hit the like and subscribe button. Definitely subscribe, because when I do come out with another video, that will pop up for you, and you can definitely see all the notifications. So find me on my Discord. I do live streaming about once a week for some Pico 8. I may start to do it a little bit more. Typically it's been on Tuesday nights, or definitely just check out either this channel, get subscribed, go to Bluesky, go to Twitter, things like that. Yes, I'm still calling it Twitter, and I will always call it Twitter, whatever. So anyway, let me know your thoughts, your comments. Are you going to get this? Are you thinking about it? Do you want to see custom firmware? If so, what kind of custom firmware? MuOS, Newly, something else? We'll see. So, as always, thanks for watching. Stay awesome, everyone, and go play some games.